Hey everyone, it's Jacob. I thought I'd quickly make my first video of a little bit of a recap of how things are going. I'm sorry, I'm not shaven and my lips are probably shiny because I put on chapstick. But yeah, I thought maybe let's start from how things went today. So today was day number 14. Today's November 3rd, 2021. I showed up to the airport at around 6:05 a.m. When I got out of the car, it was pretty cold. I think my car was reading, it was 42 degrees Fahrenheit. I quickly got into the office. I did my weight and balance checks. I kind of analyzed the weather quickly and calculated our takeoff performance and climb performance. And we got in the plane, and checking the plane today was our first day of it being really cold. Yeah, I was definitely, my hands were definitely a little frozen after I was fuel sumping, which is basically, checking to make sure that the fuel looks good in the plane. And the fuel sump kind of drips on your fingers, so that cold fuel in the cold air was not, in the dark, wasn't so great. As well, I'm excited for the clocks to move because I think that means that the sun is going to rise a little earlier, so I won't have to necessarily use the flashlight on my iPad to check the oil level of the plane and to find some of the switches and buttons inside the airplane. We quickly were able to get out because we had actually left our taxi position before the tower opened. Once the tower opened, we contacted the ground communications, and we kind of got clearance to cross a few runways. We took off. Things were looking really good. We actually went north. We went northeast this morning, so that's kind of over the Great Neck area. We flew to what we identify as the North Port Stacks, so that's northeast of Republic Airport in Farmingdale. It took about 15 minutes to get there. We were going to do some maneuvers, so we quickly practiced getting into slow flight, which went well. Then we practiced some descents. So the focus, though, on the descent was that we were going to be flying at 65 knots with full flaps, so pretty much landing configuration and how basically your plane is configured and the speed you're going at when you're going to land. And I just had to maintain a certain amount of feet per minute that we were descending and a certain airspeed. So what that means is that we had to remain at 65 knots, which is about, I think, 72, 73 miles an hour. And we had to descend 500 feet per minute. So that means in 2 minutes, I'd descend 1,000 feet. So we started at about 3,000 feet and we practiced that until we got to 2,000 feet. Then we quickly went back up to 3,000 feet. That's kind of the ceiling of the airspace that we're flying in. And today was really clear and beautiful, so we saw an awesome sunrise after we practiced that maneuver. And what was even better was after we practiced that maneuver, we quickly made a U-turn heading completely east, and we practiced what we call emergency descents. So emergency descents are when you're you're generally at standard altitude, standard speed, and all of a sudden you have to get down fast. So that was a little hard for me because we had practiced this about 2 weeks ago, and I just didn't remember the actual configuration of the plane. So I forgot that we were going to bring the power to idle of the plane. So pretty much we're telling the engine, don't propel us any further. And then we're going to bring the plane's nose down. So we're going to pitch the airplane in kind of a down position, and we're going to turn extremely steeply a 45-degree bank. So pretty much, as I said, we bring the power down, you're pitching down, and you're turning at a 45-degree bank. And I really do not like steep turns, so that was really not fun for me. And then on top of the 45-degree turn, and you're descending, you have to maintain an airspeed between 95 and 105 knots. So eventually I reached 115 knots, and my instructor, who's the best, was you have to pull the nose up so you slow down. And I just had so much going on. I was not maintaining 45-degree bank. I kept on going to 30 degrees just because it's so steep and it just doesn't feel natural, and it kind of feels like you're just going to roll over. And then 1,700 feet approached really quickly. I leveled off at about 1,600 feet. And with that, I think we both decided that, okay, that's a lot. I don't want to do that again today. So we flew back to the airport and we practiced Touch Gos. So now after I completed my first progress check, which is just to make sure that I got the basics down, we go into pretty much learning how to land. This way I can get ready for my solo flight, which is where I'm going to fly by myself. So we got to the airport. We got into the landing pattern. The first time we were making right traffic. So that means we keep on turning right until we get to the airport. And we landed pretty smoothly. It was a touch and go. So what that means is that once we landed and we had all 3 wheels on the ground, we quickly applied full power, like as if we were taking off. We got into a takeoff configuration, so we removed all of our flaps. And actually, now that I think about it, I think the first time we landed, we didn't have flaps. And then we pretty much took off again. Once we got to 800 feet, we made a left turn, and then we were perpendicular to the runway we took off from. We made another left turn, and we were parallel to the runway we took off from. And then we made another left turn once we had passed the runway, and we entered what's called base. And then we made another left turn to final, which is when we're actually going to land on the runway again. So we then landed again, this time in full flaps configuration. So landing configuration as if you do a regular landing. And again, my instructor says, okay, we're taking off one more time. So we did it again, and then we get back onto the ground. Okay, we're doing it a third time. So we take off, and then we land the 4th time. And it was just really fun that, we had this ability to quickly, touch our airplane down, evaluate how we did on the landing, and then, try it again. And it's just really fun to do the touch and goes. I'd say my landing feeling is a little wishy-washy, so I kind of understand the fact that you have to maintain a certain pitch, meaning you have to be pitching down because you want to actually hit the ground eventually, and you have to maintain a certain airspeed, which is in our plane 65 knots. However, the ground approach is actually faster than you sometimes might think. So all of a sudden you're pitching down and you want to just pitch the nose back up. You don't want to go any further down. But if you do that, your airplane slows down. So if you don't immediately add power, you can get into a stall, which basically means your airplane's falling out of the sky. So it's just a big balance of watching your airspeed, watching the runway, making sure you're not too low down. And by the 4th time we landed, I felt really comfortable. And I think my instructor felt comfortable being in the plane with me. So I'm excited. I'm assuming that tomorrow we're going to do some more maneuvers and we're going to practice the go-rounds again. And then I hope on Friday, Friday's in 2 days. So Friday we're going to do something similar. And I hope by the end of the week I'm a little more comfortable on that whole balance of pitching the nose down and, getting down safely. So with that said, things are really great. Definitely overwhelming by the time we landed. I did not want to talk to control tower because that's a whole thought process in and of itself. And then I wanted to just taxi the way I know to taxi back to the gate, but obviously we got different instructions. So my instructor helped me navigate back to our gate, and then the whole taxi was a mess there forward just because my mind was so fried. So I guess that happens to student trainers. So anyways, that's it for today. This was fun to make, so I hope you watch some more videos that I hope to make and follow along on the journey of becoming a pilot. So enjoy.